Hello and welcome to 10 minutes of core mobility and strength. So we're going to be starting in a lying down position on the mat. We have got a little towel, so sometimes when we're lying on our front or our back, you'll find that this curve here becomes exaggerated. So you might find that when you're on your front you're a little bit like that, or when you're on your back you're a little bit like that, and it's a really uncomfortable place to be. So we want to maintain that lovely long alignment of the neck down into the spine. So you might need this either underneath your forehead or on the back of the neck if you're lying down. So I'm going to pop that there. Now we're going to start in a lying down position, and when you do this we're going to try and make sure that we keep our knees bent, so we're not arching the back as soon as we go down. So we're going to bring ourselves into this position with knees bent, and I'm going to take my feet about hip width apart. So we want the sort of the toes, the knees, the hips in line pretty much. Okay, and if you can, rather than having those feet sort of like that, we're going to see if we can get them as close to that nice parallel sort of alignment so that the toes are at 12 o'clock. If they're a little bit at 1 or 11, it's okay, but try not to over exaggerate what you might do out of habit. Good. Now we're going to see if we can gently bring ourselves down onto the mat, and the first thing we're going to do is make sure that that head and neck are comfortable on that mat. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the fingers onto the pubic bone and the thumb on your belly button. And with those knees bent, what we're going to do is just imagine that the thumbs and the fingers are on a clock face. And at the moment, we're going to just tip the clock face so the fingers are at 6. The 6 is higher than the 12. So your fingers are higher than the thumbs. And then we're going to gently tilt that pelvis so that the thumbs are higher than the fingers. So if it was a clock face, we'd have 6 a little bit higher and then 12. Now what I want you to do is just take your awareness into this lower back. So you'll notice that the lower back, as we tilt this pelvis, okay, the lower back is arching away from the floor when the thumbs are higher, and it's pressing down into the floor when the fingers are higher. Now what we're going to do is make that rocking movement smaller and smaller till that clock face is even. The 6 and 12 are on the same plane. And if you take your hand just to that back, you'll notice that the smaller the back, there's just a natural curve, but it's not exaggerated. So we're going to try and hold on to that natural curve. Now we're going to relax those arms down by the side, and we're going to now think about relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the shoulder blades. Just let them melt into the mat, and we're going to look straight up. We're going to think about drawing your tummy button away from the waistband of the trousers. So we sometimes talk about tightening the belt. So we're going to imagine you've got that big thick belt around the waist, and we're just going to tighten it as hard as you can. Really tighten that belt by drawing that tummy button away from the waistband of the trousers, and then we're going to release. Okay, so if we keep it at notch 10, 100%, it's going to be too much. So what we're going to do now is tighten it to 50%, and we're going to release. And then we're going to see if we can tighten it to 30%, all the while maintaining that really nice neutral spine. Now when we're at 30%, we are just going to see if we can go back to that little pelvic tilt again, this time looking towards the ceiling and just making that little rocking movement. Now what we're going to do is, when the fingers are higher than the thumbs, when we've tilted the pelvis and that lower back is pressed down into the floor, we are going to squeeze this bottom, and we're going to lift that body just off the floor a little bit, not all the way. We're going to hold at the top. Now just see if you can gently lower down, pressing each little segment of the spine down into the floor at a time. Now you might find you want to adjust your foot position. You might think, oh, actually I was in the wrong position there. That's okay. Now we're just going to keep doing this. This is called a bridge. So what we're doing is we're using the core muscles to control the position of the spine. We're using these bottom muscles to squeeze, and the backs of the thighs, the hamstring muscles as well. Now, as we come back down, we are mobilizing the spine. So we're going to press each little segment of the spine back one at a time. So we're starting, when we're coming back down, we're starting at the top of the back, the top of the spine. Now imagine I'd painted your vertebra in black paint, and we're just making one little dot on the mat at a time as we press each little segment back into the floor. And then we're going to tilt. Now you're really squeezing these bottom muscles. You might find you push into the heels to activate the bottom muscles a little bit more. At the top, we're going to relax the shoulders, tighten that belt, make sure it's at notch 3, and then we're going to come all the way back down. Okay, I'm going to do one more of these. Okay, now as you get stronger, you may find you can do more, but we're going to do about 6 to 8 of everything to get started. Okay, now we're going to come all the way down, and I'm going to just see if I can bring one knee, then the other knee into the chest, and we can feel that little stretch in the back, but you'll also find a little stretch in the bottom muscles. So we're going to bring one foot down, nice and controlled, and the other. Now, what is on my list next? Okay, we are now going to do some little hip rolls. So we're going to bring the feet together. We're going to bring the knees together. We're going to tighten this belt. Now, this belt-like muscle is going to control the movement, so you don't need to tense the arms. So we're going to relax those, let those shoulder blades melt. Now, all we're going to do is, if these knees are at 12 o'clock, we're going to take them to 1 o'clock. And then using these muscles here, we're going to bring them back in. So 1 o'clock, then 11 o'clock. Okay. Notice, the slower you go, the more you'll notice what these muscles are doing. Okay, they're having to really work to stabilize you so you can relax the shoulders. And by not taking the knees too far over, you can really start to get those muscles working. Now, only when you feel comfortable that there's no aggravation from this do you take it maybe to 10 o'clock. And to 2 o'clock, you might feel comfortable letting that head turn in the opposite direction to the knees. But don't let those knees fall too far over. Okay, just work within your limitations and where your body's telling you it wants to go. And eventually you might find you can go a little bit further, but let's hold it there for now. Okay. So we're going to just walk those heels out and those toes out. So we're back to hip width apart. Let's have a look at my little list. What is next? We are number 5. So neutral spine, really important for this. And if you want to just double check that you're actually really managing to do that, you can take your hand into the small of the back, and what we want to do is put a little bit of pressure on it with that lower back. Now maintain the pressure. So what I'm going to do is I am going to slide my heel. This works better with socks actually, but never mind. I'm bumping along. I'm going to just, as if I'm pushing my heel through wet sand, I've got to really draw that tummy button in. Now, I'm going to draw that heel slow and controlled. It's a very deliberate movement. You might find you can really feel these muscles, because what wants to happen, I'll show you what wants to happen. The body wants to sort of let that back arch away from the floor as we do that. That is our natural reaction, but we're not going to let that happen. We're all about maintaining that position. So I'm going to slide. We're going to do 5 on one leg, really slow and controlled, and we're going to draw this heel really slowly. Try not to tense up those arms, and we're going to do the same on the other side. So we're going to just push one heel, slow and controlled. Keep that back as close to the mat as you feel you're able. Don't let it arch. If it arches, start to bring the heel back a little bit more. So only take it so far and bring it back. But yeah, socks on is better for this one. Okay, now, good. So I'm going to imagine I've done 5 on each side there. Okay, now, next little exercise, we are going to take one knee into the chest. Now I'm going to get you to just draw this knee to the same shoulder, and then we're very, very gently going to draw that knee to the opposite shoulder. Okay, and we're just going to breathe out, and then we're going to relax. Let's do the same on the other side. So I'm going to draw this arm in. Ooh, I'm just checking the time. This is meant to be 10 minutes. And then we're just going to draw this knee to the opposite shoulder. Okay. And then we're going to release. We're going to bring it down. And we're just going to see if we can gently, gently turn over. Now, we're going to see if we can lie on our front. So we're going to lie on the front. And we're going to take a very, very gentle movement. I'm going to place this towel underneath my head. Now I'm going to activate these glutes. I'm going to draw this belt-like muscle away from the mat, and we're going to relax the shoulders. So we're just going to see if we can very, very gently lift that chest away from the mat. Now I'm keeping this movement very small so that we're not aggravating this back. It's just a very nice small movement, little bit of back extension, but we've got these arms to support. And we're literally doing 5 or 6 of these. And then I'm going to see if we can push ourselves up into that child's pose. Now while we're going down, we're going to just see if we can tilt that pelvis. So imagine you had a tail and we're pushing it between your knees. We're going to come back. You may feel comfortable bringing the arms behind your knees. You may like to stretch out those shoulders. And then we're just going to see if we can bring ourselves up into a kneeling position. We're going to take a little cat stretch. We're going to look towards the knees. And then I'm going to walk these hands backwards. So, that is 10 minutes. And I'm going to put a stop. But we'll do another couple of little sessions. So, little bit of mobility, little bit of core strength. Hope it was valuable.